Garden of Eden was not in the Middle East. It is located in Bristol, Florida. There are fascinating parallels between the Apalachicola River system and the biblical description of the Garden of Eden. The Apalachicola region matched the biblical description of Eden more closely than any other known location. The Apalachicola River in Florida has 4 heads. The Apalachicola River split in 2: the Chattahoochee River, the Fish Pond Creek River, the Spring Creek River, and the Flint River. The first fact is, the Apalachicola River is the only river in the world with 4 heads. E. E. Calloway, 1889-1981, was a preacher, scientist, lawyer, archaeologist, Freemason, Shriner, and Republican candidate for Florida governor in 1936. He was known for finding the location of the Garden of Eden and where Noah built the ark. Let's cut to that clip.
Well, Mr. Calloway, you say that this is the Garden of Eden. There it is.
I think about in the center of the garden, north and south. The Garden of Eden, east and west, is not over 10 miles wide, paralleling the river from Chattahoochee down to Bristol. But you're right in the center of it here at Torrey State Park, north and south, between Chattahoochee and Bristol.
Well, now, according to the Bible, the Garden of Eden must have trees pleasant to the sight, and it must have gold and onyx stone and a river of 4 heads. Is this one of the rivers?
This is the Pison River, which is mentioned in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, when it says, the river went out of Eden to water the garden and parted and became into 4 heads. The tree life from Chattahoochee to Bristol is the largest of any other area in the world. The Bible names 28 trees. The best authority on earth have identified 27 of them here, and many, many more, including the gopherwood tree. The Bible names those 4 river heads as the Pison, the Gihon or Gihon, the Hiddekel, and the Euphrates. The first one was the Pison. The Bible says that is it that compasseth the land of Havilah, which was North Florida, before the flood, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is G-O-O-D. The Bible used that adjective to describe the North Florida gold to further tie down the exact location of the Garden of Eden. The next verse says there's also bdellium there, which is nothing but rosin out of pine trees that God instructed Noah to pitch the ark out of, and onyx stone, which is marble. And North Georgia, right where this great river has its source, is one of the largest marble areas in the world. The Tate Marble Quarry and Company there, Tate, Georgia, is one of the largest. So the natural monuments definitely mentioned and described in the Bible as being related to the Garden of Eden are here, and they are not anywhere else on this earth.
Well, not only are we sitting in the Garden of Eden, but we're also sitting in an area where you say Noah built the ark.
Noah built the ark out of gopher wood, which God selected himself for him to build it out of.
Is this the only place that you know of?
This is the only place on this earth where it has ever grown. It's the most peculiar wood on earth. You can take a piece of it the size of this match when it's green. You can't break it. You can twist it and turn it. It's the lightest wood on earth. I have had its fibers, its structure, its every phase of it chemically analyzed. There's no other wood on earth like it. It's the lightest. And Noah built the ark out of wood not very far from where you and I are sitting here at Torrey State Park. It was loaded, and then it floated 5 months and landed on Mount Ararat, where we know definitely that it's now embedded in the ice. When the idea or the notion or the belief that the Garden of Eden was somewhere else, or over in Europe or in Africa or someplace over there, the Western Hemisphere was unknown. They did not know that the continent existed west of the Atlantic Ocean. Therefore, they couldn't search this continent, along with the others, to find the River of 4 Heads and these other great natural monuments which the Bible said was related to the Garden of Eden.
Calloway points with pride to the official map of the U.S. engineers at Chattahoochee, which shows what Calloway says is the only 4-head river system in the world. That is a system described in the Bible, where in Genesis, the river flowing out of Eden, which waters the garden, parts and becomes into 4 heads. First there is the Gihon, now known as the Flint River, which flows towards the land of Ethiopia. Then the Euphrates, the Spring Creek River, whose name was transferred to the Middle East after the flood. The Hiddekel River is Fish Pond Creek River, which borders the land of ancient Assyria. And finally, the last of the four rivers, the wide and lovely Paisan, the Chattahoochee, today a river of trade and commerce. The Apalachicola seems an unlikely name for the river flowing through Eden, but here, according to Callaway, is the heart of the garden. This peaceful river is the life source of the lush vegetation of the original habitat of the first man and woman. According to Callaway, the names of these rivers and the land surrounding them were transferred to the other side of the world when, after floating in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights, Noah and his family landed on Mount Ararat in Turkey. The legend of the Bountiful Garden, too, was transferred to the Middle East, where archaeologists have searched in vain for a four-head river system, such as described in the Bible. Do you know where the tree of knowledge existed in this garden, and was it an apple tree?
The word apple, or the plural apple, is not even mentioned in the book of Genesis. That's been added on by fiction and superstition. The Bible mentions apple or apples 3 times, but it's speaking of the apple of the eye because it's in the shape of some apples, you know. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is a spiritual tree. God told Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden in the 16th verse of the 2nd chapter of Genesis, of every tree of the garden, of the fruit of every tree of the garden, thou mayest freely eat. There was not any forbidden fruit in the garden. But he told them in another verse, there's one in here, that if you eat that, you shall die. And that's the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Mother Eve thought a good long time before she made up a decision whether or not to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And she decided that she'd rather live the 70 years that God had promised them by knowing good from evil and then die, rather than live on a parity with a totally insane person or an animal forever in paradise and never know right from wrong.
The key to Eden is gopher wood, the Toreya evergreen. Make thee an ark of gopher wood, said the Lord to Noah, and gopher wood grows only in this park. The tree produces a buoyant wood that would be suitable for the building of an ark. The logs of petrified gopher wood which Callaway discovered here, he said, were sawed off good and smooth, just like a chainsaw would have done.
I've pointed out to man, I've proven it by natural monuments, the same as are described in the Bible, and I've given him a direction as to how to go there. And they're going to come here by the tens of thousands, not gamblers and crooks and speculators, but the finest men and women on this earth, to come here and feel. You feel something here you don't feel anywhere else in the world.
Yo, somebody's been lying, but we about to get to the bottom of it, all right? This is the Moor King of the Orient. All right, first I want to let you know they lied to you about where the Orient is, okay? But I'm going to break it down. Don't worry, all right? The Orient, the direction east, all right? The part of the horizon where the sun first appears, all right? Listen, they flipped the maps. We'll get to it. A pearl of the first water, originally meaning one from the Indian Seas, all right? Indian Seas. Now that would make a lot more sense, all right, if it came from a land that was once called India Superior instead of a land called Hindustan, all right? I'm just saying. All right, let's get back to it. All right, you see those palm trees down there? All right? Native to North America, of course. What did you expect? All right, we're going to dive in another book, all right? All right, the aristocracy of the early inhabitants of North America, all right, were described as Indians and Moors, all right? Now let's get to this. A pearl of the first water, all right? Oriental masonry, how fitting, all right? Firstborn among continents, America has been falsely denominated the New World. Hers was the first dry land lifted out of the waters. Hers was the first shore washed by the ocean that enveloped all the earth besides. All right, the first land lifted out of the waters. All right, a pearl of the first water. Man. All right, so we all know that the map was flipped. Africa, America, they've been lying. I proved that this is the Orient. Okay. And the reason you don't know your east from your west, your north from your south, is because you've been disoriented. All right? Get it? Orient, east, disorient. Listen, it's literally to turn from the east. They turned America from the east, all right, to the west by flipping the maps and got you disoriented. All right? America is the old world, the first out of the waters, the land of milk and honey. Follow me for more.